in association with Kutumb app.
अनेक ग्रुपों से पाइए छुटकारा, आपके संगठन का अपना ऐप कुटुंब ऐप।
एक तरफ चीन से टकराव तो दूसरी तरफ धोखेबाज पाकिस्तान। वो कभी भी कहीं भी पीठ में छुरा मार सकता है। ऐसे में क्या पाकिस्तान और भारत के बीच सियाचिन में डीमिलिटराइजेशन जोन बनाया जा सकता है? यह एक बड़ा सवाल है जो सेना प्रमुख से आर्मी डे से पहले हुए प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस के दौरान पूछा गया। सेना प्रमुख ने इसके जवाब में पूरे का पूरा प्रोसेस ही समझा दिया। सियाचिन को लेकर साफ तौर पर सेना प्रमुख ने कहा है कि पाकिस्तान ने कब्जा करने की कोशिश की तो हमने भी वहां तैनाती की। पूरे सियाचिन ग्लेशियर में भारत और पाकिस्तान के सैनिक आमने सामने हैं। सैनिकों को कम करने या हटाने के बारे में तब सोचा जा सकता है जब एक्चुअल ग्राउंड पोजीशन लाइन को दोनों देश स्वीकार कर लें, और खासकर पाकिस्तान।
As the Indian Army, we are very well poised all along our borders, and there is no question that any status quo as it exists today will ever be altered by force.
Shifting focus to the northeast now, there is a question on the security situation post the Mon incident, and this comes from Amrita Datta from CNN News 18, Dinakar Perry from The Hindu, and Pranjali Singh of Sansad TV. They ask, there were plans for a phased withdrawal of troops deployed in CI duties in the northeast so that they can increasingly focus on their core job of war fighting. In view of the latest incidents in the northeast, how is the army viewing the security situation in the region, and what are the army's current plans with respect to maintaining a good strength of army's troops for CI duties in the northeast?
Well, as far as the northeast is concerned, there has been a very marked improvement in the overall security situation in the entire northeast, and that includes Assam, the southern districts of Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, and the other states where the army is not deployed, that is Mizoram, Meghalaya, Tripura. And as a result of this improved security situation, we have been able to disengage a number of our formations which were involved in CICT operations in these states, especially in Manipur and in Assam. And they have been left, I won't say left free, but now that they have been disengaged from their CICT role, they are now totally able to focus on their primary task, that is the conventional role. And the fact that we were able to de-induct these forces, 2 divisions worth almost, from CICT roles and tasks, just goes to show how much the security situation has improved. And from wherever they have moved out, the Assam Rifles have taken on that role in these areas. It was very unfortunate, the incident of ambush which happened on the convoy of 46 Assam Rifles. But that one incident is not indicative of a deterioration in the overall situation in the northeast, and we have taken whatever actions were required to deal with that. But yes, the bottom line is that the situation in the northeast has improved manifold.
Next question on the Mon incident inquiry is from Abhishek Bharat, India Today TV. He says, will the army personnel get any protection under AFSPA in the Nagaland killings of civilians, and what is the status of the inquiry in the incident?
Well, I would like to say that right at the outset that the incident which happened at Oting in Nagaland on the 4th of December is highly regrettable. In the aftermath of the incident, the Eastern Command was quick in ordering an inquiry, which is headed by an officer of at the 2-star level by a Major General, and that inquiry is in its final stages, and I expect that the findings would come, will be submitted in a day or two. Apart from the Army inquiry, SIT has also been constituted to inquire into the same incident, and we have been cooperating fully with the SIT, and both the Court of Inquiry and the SIT are taking the statements from the wide cross-section of the people who were involved so that we can come to a greater understanding of what has happened. And based on the findings of the inquiry, appropriate action will be taken. And I would like to clarify that the law of the land is paramount, and we will always uphold that and take action as deemed, as required in upholding the law of the land.
Shifting focus now to Pakistan, I'll move on to question number 14, which pertains to the current situation along the LC post the ceasefire. Anish Kumar Singh of Asianet News asks, what is the current situation along the border areas post reiteration of the ceasefire agreement with the Pakistan Army?
Can you repeat the question?
I'll repeat the question, sir. Anish Kumar Singh of Asianet News asks, what is the current situation along the border areas post reiteration of the ceasefire agreement with the Pakistan Army?
Well, as you know that in February last year we were able to reach an understanding with the Pakistan side. There already was a ceasefire understanding in place right from 2003, but that was being observed more in the breach. But post February last year, this understanding was renewed, and since then the ceasefire violations have come down drastically. In fact, none have happened except for 2 isolated incidents. And a drop in that has definitely resulted in a little bit of normalcy on the Western Front. With that notwithstanding, the proxy war continues. Terrorists are still there in the launch pads across the border. The combined intelligence input suggests as many as 350 to 400 terrorists on the other side at the launch pads or in various training camps. So this threat has in no way receded. So we have to remain alert, and to that extent, a threat from the Western Front is also very much there and cannot be ignored.
Sanjeev Barua.
Question number?
15.
Yeah.
Sanjeev Barua from ETV Bharat asks about the use of drones on the LC. His question is, the increasing use of drones on the LOC has done away with the seasonality factor of terrorism in Kashmir. No longer is the winter a restraining factor for terrorists to infiltrate. Would it necessitate a change in counterinsurgency tactics? Is such a plan in place? And if so, what countermeasures are we looking at?
I think what you have just asked, there are 2 facets to that. That was, one is infiltration and one is the use of drones for logistic purposes. So I think as far as winter is concerned, it will still have a relevance and bearing on the infiltration part. After all, the drones are not being used to carry men across. It is only for carrying supplies. So winter will still remain relevant as far as infiltration is concerned. And during the winter months, there has always been a drop in the infiltration attempts. And in the winter months, these attempts from the snowbound areas keep shifting southwards. And finally, then the attempts are also made from the IB sector of J&K. But yes, drones are being used and have been used for the other purpose which I mentioned just now, and that is for carrying arms or ammunition or even drugs from across the, or and transport it across the LC or the IB, and that is now becoming the favored way of doing that. It is low cost, there is a lesser threat, less chances of getting caught while you are doing that, an interception. But yes, so the drone threat is very much there. But as I said, not for infiltration per se, but to give this kind of a logistic support to it. But we are well seized of this issue. Not only the army, but the Ministry of Home Affairs also is very much alive to this developing threat, and a number of measures are being put in place to counter this drone threat.
The next question is from Manu Pavi from Economic Times about demilitarizing Siachen Glacier. He asks, India has deployed troops at extreme heights at the Siachen Glacier for over 3 decades now, holding out against Pakistani designs on the territory. Does the Chief of Army Staff think the time has now come for demilitarizing the glacier?
Well, as you all know, this situation in the Siachen Glacier occurred once again because of unilateral attempts by Pakistan to change the status quo. The LC had been delineated to a point which is known as NJ 9842, and thereafter it was understanding that it would remain unoccupied. But since they made an attempt to occupy it, we were also forced to take our countermeasures, and now both sides are face to face all along the Siachen Glacier. We are not averse to demilitarization of the Siachen Glacier, but a precondition of that is to accept the AGPL, that is the actual ground position line. The Pakistan has to accept what are their positions, accept what are our positions, and both of us have to sign on the dotted line before any kind of disengagement takes place. This is quite, the parallel with what is happening in Eastern Ladakh is quite similar. First you have to disengage. Only then can you de-induct or de-escalate, which is another way of saying demilitarization.
एक तरफ सेना प्रमुख ने जहां डीमिलिटराइजेशन को लेकर बयान दिया, तो वहीं उन्होंने पाकिस्तान के द्वारा किए जा रहे दूसरी हरकतों पर भी खासा ध्यान दिया। सेना प्रमुख ने कहा कि पाकिस्तान के कब्जे वाले कश्मीर में लॉन्च पैड और प्रशिक्षण शिविर में तकरीबन 350-400 आतंकी मौजूद हैं। भारतीय सेना की वार्षिक प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस को संबोधित करते हुए उन्होंने यह भी कहा है कि पाकिस्तान से नियंत्रण रेखा पर खतरा किसी भी तरह से कम नहीं हुआ है। सेना प्रमुख ने यह भी कहा है कि खतरे को नजरअंदाज नहीं किया जा सकता। हालांकि डीजीएमओ लेवल पर हुए सीमा समझौते को लेकर सेना प्रमुख ने कहा है कि पहले के मुकाबले इस क्षेत्र में थोड़े हालात में सुधार देखने को मिल रहे हैं, लेकिन भारत पूरी तरीके से इस पूरे इलाके में चौकन्ना बैठा है, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान की हरकत से हर कोई वाकिफ है कि पाकिस्तान कब क्या करेगा कोई नहीं जानता। ऐसे में पाकिस्तान को करारा जवाब देने के लिए भारतीय सेना पूरी मुस्तैदी से तैनात है। ब्यूरो रिपोर्ट, भारत तक।